This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
That's right, we are your hosts, and it's our job to bring you all the latest happenings in Georgia agriculture. Hi, everybody. So glad you could join us for another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Not only do we have the latest ag features for you today, but we also are celebrating the industry. Coming up, the Georgia Farm Bureau honors all the grand champion winners from this year's Georgia National Livestock Shows. Hear from the students themselves and see who took home the biggest prize money.
Also on the program, turns out onions aren't the only sweet delights in Vidalia. Straight ahead, why one researcher says onions and honeybees go hand in hand. And then later.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming to you this month. You're not going to believe where I am. I'm standing on a closed runway at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport talking with folks about how they control wildlife from interfering with aircraft. All that and so much more is coming up right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Georgia Farm Bureau proud to support 4-H and FFA students as they learn life lessons through livestock projects. Recently, at the Georgia Farm Bureau headquarters building in Macon, the organization held an event to honor 8 grand champions for all the hard work that went into raising their livestock projects. The Monitor's Mark Wildman has the report.
Georgia 4-H and FFA students work hard all year raising livestock for various shows around the state. Countless hours of preparation, feeding, washing, and working with their animals so that they can walk them into a show ring helps them gain skills and learn lifelong lessons. But only a very small percentage will go on to be a grand champion. Here at the Georgia Farm Bureau headquarters in Macon, 8 grand champions from the 4-H and FFA Market, Goat, and Lamb Show and the Georgia Junior National Livestock Show were honored at the Evening of Grand Champions.
We are so happy that you are all willing to join us for this special occasion tonight. It is truly an honor and a privilege for us to have all of these outstanding individuals in your Farm Bureau building tonight. You have reached the pinnacle of your youth livestock shows, and I am proud that Georgia Farm Bureau can share in your success.
I'm a product of the Junior Livestock Program myself, and I know that the work that it takes to be a champion, to be a grand champion, and this is something that nobody can take away from you now. You've achieved this level of success, and going forward, you'll always be able to look back and say, I was state grand champion.
One of the reasons Georgia agriculture is strong is because of the hard work and dedication of so many who contribute countless hours to help students develop good character and learn important life lessons.
And I would tell you that probably the most important thing you need to do is say thank you to that teacher, agent, to your parents who have made it possible for you to have this experience, to learn the responsibility. These are memories that you'll carry with you throughout your life.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, what is a champion? And the only thing I could come up with is every FFA meeting I've ever been with, the closing ceremony of the FFA meeting, the president at the closing ceremony of every meeting, he says, as we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. I think that's a great description of what a champion really is. I commend each one of you for the hard work, the diligent labor, the way you treat other people, and the way you exhibit your livestock. So this night is yours. Congratulations for being a champion. It's just an honor for me to be a part of this.
The highlight of the event, of course, was when each grand champion's name was read and they got handed their grand champion belt buckle and a check from the president of the Georgia Farm Bureau, Gerald Long. This year's grand champions are Abby Moore, Britton Herndon, Jarrett Baldwin, Brent Bohannon, Morgan McDaniel, Luke Mobley, Brett Dyer, and Chase Roberts. Congratulations to all of the grand champions and to all of their families as well. In Macon, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
In other news now, it's being called a major milestone for those associated with ABAC. In a recent study commissioned by the Board of Regents here in Georgia, it was determined that the popular Ag Institute had a total economic impact of close to $330 million on Tifton and surrounding counties during the 2014 fiscal year. That number an all-time high in the 108-year history of the college, says ABAC President David Bridges. President Bridges also saying, quote, "We were fortunate to have 4 consecutive semesters of enrollment increases, and we are filling up every available residence hall space on the campus every fall semester. They're eating in the restaurants, buying from the stores, and contributing to the local economy," end quote. Bridges also believes the economic impact figure will continue to climb. And speaking of Tifton, peanut producers from across the state recently made a trip to Tifton for a workshop hosted by the University of Georgia.
Damon Jones was there and tells you what to expect in the coming year and a new pest to be on the lookout for.
With supply far outweighing demand, the peanut prices have seen a sharp decline over the past couple of years. And while that is starting to balance out, 2016 could still be another challenging year for producers. And that was the main message from this recent workshop held in Tifton.
One, that the year's probably going to be pretty tough, you know, in as far as their potential return. We don't have that big margin like we usually do among these crops, so the return's going to be smaller, which means that you got to pay attention to how much you're putting into not only peanuts but other crops.
However, that doesn't mean skimping on necessary input costs, as that will affect your bottom line in the long run.
We would definitely recommend, if you're going to plant this crop, make sure you got somebody looking after it, you know, whether that's a crop scout or consultant. Make sure you stay ahead of any disease problems. Make sure you choose the right fungicides, as well as any other input that you need to put in.
Having the right fungicide is of particular importance this season, as the weather so far indicates a high likelihood of problems with mold in the field.
This year, I think we are setting up for, again, one of the highest disease years that we've had or could have. Based on the amount of rain that we've received, based on how warm it's been over the winter, disease problems can be pretty bad this year if it keeps going the way it is now.
Another thing to be on the lookout for is the burrow bug, and while it is indigenous to the South, it has only recently become a problem.
It's a true bug. It has piercing, sucking mouth parts. It basically feeds on the peanut seed in the ground and sucks the juice out of the seed, which reduces its quality and, of course, causes economic loss to the growers.
The good news is that not many fields will have an infestation. However, those that do will see major damage to their crop.
And it's a real serious problem for growers that have the problem. It's, it's not in every field by any stretch. It's not a pest that we're going to see across the whole state, but there are certain growers in some counties especially that have problem year after year, and for them it's really a devastating economic problem.
That means while it's not a widespread problem, it is still a good idea to have your fields checked. And for those who have already experienced this problem, the best way to prevent a repeat is to change up how you prepare your field.
But for those growers who are using conservation tillage and who consistently have burrow bug problems, they probably should consider going back to turning some of, especially the non-irrigated land, because the non-irrigated land is at higher risk for bugs. Turning those acres is probably a good recommendation for those growers if they've had consistent burrow bug problems.
While it is still early in the year, optimism is high for the crop in 2016.
I think we are poised for at least a good start here. Now, how things go as we go along, Mother Nature is going to dictate that. But for right now, we've got just as high potential right now to make a good crop going into the 2016 season.
Reporting from Tifton, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, thanks so much. When we come back, the story on how this research technician in Vidalia captured more than just the sweet taste of onions. Stay tuned.
I started raising watermelons when I was 17 years old, when I was actually right before I was a senior in high school. And then as I went through ABAC the first 2 years and graduated from Georgia in '86, during those summers I kept having watermelons and tried a few boiled peanuts, and we just had everything stacked under this pecan tree right in front of the business here. And so when I got out, when I graduated from Georgia, you know, I had some pretty decent success, you know, for those 4 or 5 summers before that, and I said, what the heck, I'm just going to give it a shot. You know, I grew up on the farm with my dad and uncle, Tom Daniel and John Daniel, row crop farming, and along the way they helped me out so much over the years as far as renting land and renting equipment, you know, till I could get on my feet and get some of my own land and equipment. They even helped me buy some land from them. They were nice enough to do that, and so without them, I just owe so much to over the years, you know. And my dad, like I say, he passed away 11 years ago. Every day I'm out here, part of the appeal is he's all around this place. He's all around this farm, and that just means the world to me also. I mean, I love it. I wake up every day, you know, excited about what I'm going to be doing that day, and I don't think a lot of people probably feel that way about their jobs. I know a lot don't, but I'm so blessed, just so blessed to have that opportunity to be my own boss, to watch, you know, God work His miracles every day out here on the farm, and to be a part of that. And that's really, really cool to me. Oh, it does my heart good, and that's half of what I do it for, is to have the families come out here, and, you know, in a farm type setting, good, clean atmosphere. And I want them to come out here and just enjoy the outdoors, just enjoy the scenery, just the farm feel, just to have a good, just to watch families kind of unite out here with their kids, and, you know, one-on-one time. It's just hard to find in this world, and that just does me good, to have my heart good when they come out here and they walk away smiling and having a good time.
Typically, when we visit Vidalia, Georgia, we're talking about onions or onion research. Recently, however, we had the opportunity to follow one of the research technicians doing something other than onion research.
Usually, Denny Thigpen would be lending his assistance to the testing of the world-famous onion varieties, but recently he made a unique discovery in the area.
I was looking for something that I could do with my granddaughter, so we talked about bees, and she thought she might be interested. She's 6, and the first experience, she was not as excited as she was prior to getting them, but after getting them, she's become a little more interested, a little less afraid.
Denny has attracted a swarm of thousands of honeybees to these boxes that he's constructed. He said it started in his own backyard before transferring the bees to the research location in Toombs County.
This is my swarm trap. There are others with different designs. This is the one that I built, and it works for me. Made it out of just rough barn wood. They seem to like it. The optimum size, they say, is 40 liters. So you've got some extra space here, but I just take old frames of old comb and put in there. That's probably the ugliest comb, but that's probably the best attractant there is. It's got some wax moth damage, but the older comb, I guess, has a scent to it that the bees like. When I opened this swarm trap, I saw them go in it. I left them for 3 days. And that's a temporary housing. You move them to a bigger facility. These are 8-frame hive bodies. And when I put them in there, they just about wouldn't fit. It was that large of a swarm. So I went ahead and put a honey super on top. I'm probably going to have to put some more on before long, because the swarming instinct, springtime, lots of resources, they're building up a population. If they begin to feel crowded, that's just a signal that, you know, we need to leave.
Sometimes there can be a negative perception about honeybees, but Cliff Reiner, who's the area onion agent at the Onion Research Center, believes the two go hand in hand.
You know, we hear so much negative in agriculture about, you know, people killing bees or just hives being lost, and when we can see something actually garnered and protecting them, I think that's something that, you know, it's interesting to see, and hopefully this process will keep working and bringing them in.
Reiner said Thigpen has done an excellent job in introducing the bees to the research area and hopes that hobby continues.
Well, I'm just glad he got something, you know, self-rewarding. He's been working hard on trying to do this, and I was glad to see it happen. It's pretty rare. I mean, we would get, you know, as a county agent, I used to get calls all the time about swarms, but they would either be settled in on a swarm, or by the time you got there, they'd leave. So seeing it actually happen right when it occurred was pretty neat.
watermelons, cucumbers, squash, all are heavily dependent on pollinators, bees or bumblebees. So without them, probably your yield would decrease significantly.
Moving on now, more people choosing to eat beef more often. That's the simple goal of Beef Checkoff funded consumer promotion efforts, which help tell the story of beef as a safe, good tasting and nutritious food.
Sharon Alseth reports on the ways beef and dairy producers are influencing beef promotion programs.
In Central California, Brian Madero spends his days helping to look after the cows on his family's dairy farm. With 2,500 cows, care of the animals is a top priority, and producing high-quality milk is the main goal. However, Brian realizes he's more than a dairy farmer. He's also a beef producer.
So the beef sector is important to the dairy industry because our cows eventually will end up in the beef supply. Our cows, we love the fact that we can make milk with them, but they also have a dual purpose in providing nutrition for consumers in the beef sector as well.
In fact, Brian serves as a director of the California Beef Council. So he's seen firsthand the impact of Beef Checkoff funded consumer promotion programs aimed at growing beef demand.
As a producer, sometimes you think, well, I don't see the beef it's what's for dinner commercial anymore, or I don't see anything on TV. Why not? Because the consumers we're reaching today aren't on TV, aren't watching commercials. They're online, they're on social media, and they're looking for those messages in those different channels.
With a new promotion strategy, Brian says the Beef Checkoff has focused on reaching younger consumers, known as millennials, with information about beef delivered where they're most likely to see it.
So one real good thing that we can see is in 2015, we're able to drive 2.2 million people directly to our beefitswhatsfordinner.com website, which to us is a great success moving forward.
From providing nutrition information to eye-catching recipes to facts about how beef is produced, Brian says he believes Beef Checkoff programs are making an impact.
As a producer, from time to time, we wonder whether or not our dollar is effective. And one thing that I can say is it's definitely helping to grow that demand for beef and to ensure that consumers see where beef comes from and what we're doing to give them the best product that we can.
In California, I'm Sharon Alseth reporting.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick. Coming up next, I'll explain why officials at Hartsfield-Jackson gave me this. That's coming up.
And finally today, someone who always leaves a lasting impression, and that's Ranger Nick.
Yeah, this month he made his way through security checks and somehow found himself where very few people are allowed to go, and that's the infield of a major airport.
Well, I tell you what, this gig gets me in some pretty amazing places. And today I'm standing right along a runway at the world's most traveled airport, the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. And standing with me today is Mr. Stephen Boyd. And he is the wildlife biologist here at the airport. The folks here at Atlanta do an amazing job managing all the two-legged creatures that come through its doors every day. But I want to talk a little bit about the non-people individuals that come through here, and that's the wildlife, and that's why I'm here with Stephen. Stephen, what are some of the kinds of wildlife that would even visit an airport like this and a habitat like we're standing in today?
All types of wildlife, but we predominantly deal with birds. We also deal with terrestrial mammals, bats, even bats. But predominantly, like I said, birds, and we try to mitigate that. We try to mitigate the hazard involved in aircraft moving, birds moving. Yeah. They both fly.
Yeah.
So we try to make sure that they don't collide with one another.
And this place is nearly 5,000 acres of land that's here at this airport, and we're standing amongst a bunch of grass, taller grasses out here. This is a habitat for wildlife, and folks like Stephen are in charge of mitigating some of that habitat. I want to talk a little bit about how they go about doing that, and I think you're going to be amazed at some of the advanced technological techniques they use to take care of those animals. Now, what you just heard there was yet another technique that folks like Stephen are using here at the airport to deter wildlife. Stephen, tell us about this contraption that we're standing next to today.
This is a propane cannon with an audible distress call on it with 20 speakers. You heard how loud it was. The speakers are about 125 decibels. The actual cannon report itself is 130 decibels. So this is used to essentially scare birds from the airport environment to mitigate wildlife hazards here at Atlanta.
Absolutely, and some of the calls for our folks at home that are real bird fans, some of the calls were of predatory birds. So those are some birds like red-tailed hawks and other things that are being played through the speaker to deter that wildlife in a very safe way. I've seen these contraptions outside of an airline window many times, but never thought that that is what this is being used for, to deter wildlife. Incredible. So how about this, Stephen? I'm standing at the world's most traveled airport on a runway that is currently closed right now. It's springtime, many more people are traveling now. Wildlife are also traveling. I heard that 2014 was an unprecedented year for wildlife and aircraft strikes. Talk to us a little about that.
Yes, over 13,500 strikes were recorded in 2014. Here in Atlanta, we also saw a rise in strikes, but the common misconception is that a lot of strikes is bad. We're concerned with damaging strikes, so a lot of damaging strikes is bad, but non-damaging strikes provide data it's tools. It provides me with tools to mitigate the hazards that are out on the airfield. There may have been a potential for damage. We're trying to mitigate that in the future.
And look at all the things that you're talking about doing out here, whether it's from fencing to habitat mitigation to the sounds and the propane cannons. Amazing things that are being done to work in harmony with some of these animals. Well, probably the most infamous wildlife strike of an airplane happened, the Miracle on the Hudson. And that was, of course, associated with what kind of wildlife, Stephen?
Canada geese.
So Canada geese, an obvious concern out here at the Atlanta airport and all major airports, but what are some of the other kinds of wildlife that folks like you are concerned about in terms of running into aircraft?
Yeah, usually people associate wildlife strikes with larger birds like Canada geese, but we deal with smaller birds on a regular basis. European starlings are one of the most abundant birds that we deal with out here at the Hartsfield-Jackson. And we're standing underneath a piece of the ILS equipment now that you can see exclusion devices that we've installed to keep birds like European starlings off of them. With their perching on these structures, they actually interfere with pilot instrumentation. So just another technique that we use out here to mitigate wildlife hazards.
And I don't think that folks at home realize when they look out the window of that airplane that these things exist and that folks like Stephen are out there looking out for wildlife and trying to deter them from this area. Talked about European starlings, talked about Canada geese. What about mammals out here?
White-tailed deer. We deal with white-tailed deer. Canines like coyotes.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, here in Atlanta, we have coyotes.
I've seen them. I've been leaving the airport here in Atlanta and seeing coyotes myself. So they're after the food associated that would live out here. Incredible. Well, wasn't this something today? Wildlife management, plain and simple. We talked about techniques for mitigating those wildlife, whether it's through fences or things that are on some of the towers at the airport. We talked about some of the ways that they're using propane cannons to control these things. It's amazing to see the effort that the airport's going through to look out for wildlife. Next time you're in a plane, look out the window and pay attention to some of the things near you that are being done to look out for those critters. Well, y'all know what to do. Go online and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page, and while you're there, slide on over to the Ranger Nick page and like that. You know I love it when y'all do that. And until next time, remember, as I always say, enthusiasm is contagious, so pass it on. From the airport here in Atlanta, I'm Ranger Nick. Looking forward to seeing you right back here again next month. See ya.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. Flying by the seat of his pants, I guess you want to say. Yeah, I've been hanging around him too much long. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure to check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.